I'm live. You're coming in to play guitar with me. DenverGuitarOrchestra.com. That's where I'm keeping all the sheet music. You need to go over there and pick it up, and it's awesome. 3 levels. Level 1 is one chord songs, and the foundation for everything in fingerstyle guitar, except the only thing that's not there is how to switch chords and how to play arpeggios. Everything else is in level 1. That's the level I need you to tackle and dominate. Level 2, got 2 chord songs. We add in the arpeggios. We start working heavily on tough uke, or tough axe, I call it here. Link to join. I'm adding the link for today's episode onto our website. Level 3 is public domain songs that have whatever the chords are, that's what they are. And so by then you're playing well enough where you can handle all the chords. You can handle all melody, certainly by that point. Playing chord melody is going just fine. And we start talking about how you create music where you're not playing like anybody else, where you really are the artist and you are making all of the decisions for what's coming out of your instrument. And throughout the program, you can choose to sing or not sing. I am not a singer. I do some singing because I am required to by the nature of what we do here, but that's not really the point. Okay, and so if you want to sing and play guitar, there's way better resources out there. Well, frankly, there's way better resources out there, period. But this is what we do here, and it's fun, right? Fun. Make some nice music. I gotta grab the guitar. All right, I'm using a friend of mine made me this guitar. Beautiful, wonderful. It's all kinds of woods that I don't even remember what they are. Classical guitar we'll use has 3 plastic strings here, and those are great. You can play fingerstyle on a classical guitar for sure. I play both classical and fingerstyle. I have a couple of Western guitars, which are really designed for strumming and singing. They stay in the case for the most part. And then there's I like this guitar because it's a little bit smaller, nice wide fretboard. I asked him to put a wide fretboard on it. And, and because it's a shorter scale, I put on heavier strings down here. These are 13s, which are pretty heavy. Most players play with 11s, but because it's a shorter scale, I put 13s on in here. Gives me a lot of action, a lot of tone, and because it is a shorter scale, it's not terribly brutal on my fingers, and so that's what I have going on here. I like playing the metal string guitars in fingerstyle because of the crisp cleanness of it, but I don't necessarily think that's the be-all and end-all of fingerstyle. I think just the depth of tone and beauty that you can get out of a nylon string guitar is every bit as important. And so I don't ever tell students, hey, you should buy this guitar or that guitar. Whatever guitar you have is be fine, right? Most people play a guitar that's too big for them, and most people play metal string guitars, but it's a mistake, right? So you should try both. Each one has benefits and liabilities, and there's in order to have a complete guitar selection, you probably need about 6 or 7 guitars. Now you'll meet guys who have dozens of guitars, and they just like owning guitars. They don't necessarily. Some of them play them. Okay, some of them play them. Mostly they are there to talk about. Evelyn is here. She's in for more. Evelyn has been playing with me now for several months. She has a way better guitar than I have. And let's see, Vic. I do like guitar with baritone. It's great too. I think, one of the things I'm doing, I'm teaching multiple classes, and Vic has been taking lots of different classes. And it turns out, from class to class to class, each of these instruments just has its unique qualities that make you fall in love with it. We've been doing harmonica first thing in the morning, and honestly, that starts my day off with such joy and silliness, and just gets me breathing properly and all that. Really fun thing to do. Then we go to ukulele, a couple hours of ukulele, and I just continue to be amazed at what that instrument can do. Little tiny thing, hardly any notes on it, just absolutely breathtaking, the kind of music you can create with it. Then you switch to baritone, which has the same amount of, has a few more notes, but a lot more bigger depth, and has that same sort of joyousness about it. A lot of fun to play. And then we get to this where you're like, okay, now I got some horsepower under the hood. It's like driving a car with a big engine in it. Nice to have. Guys, remind me, I think I said yesterday, I think we got through 3 from the levels 4, 3, and 2, but I don't think we did level 1. So I think I'm starting on level 1 today. We'll work our way back in. We should be able to get through all 3 of the songs today, or all 4 of the songs today. Since we're late in the week now and there's no reason for us to be getting overly specific about technique and that sort of thing. We probably already talked about everything that I have to say about the songs. But so remind me, I think I'm going to start on 3 Blind Mice unless you tell me otherwise. Oops, I just put that in the wrong, I just put it in the wrong folder. I put a baritone piece into the guitar folder. I'll be in trouble. Move to, I'll never find it there. Baritone. All right, so that moved over to baritone. And then I'm going to go back here, move this into baritone. Baritone. Okay. Now we can open up guitar. I'm going to play 3 Blind Mice to get us started today. What time is it? We got 1 minute. At one point he sent me what this woods are made out of, and I never wrote it down. Sounds pretty good. Seems like every day. Today I'm tuning them up. Tomorrow I'll have to tune them down. Tomorrow, like this. Every day. Seems like it's just whatever I did yesterday, I do the opposite of it today. Yesterday I was lowering them all. Having a beautiful day here in Denver, so it's hopefully my guitar is happy with the weather. And let's give this a try. All right, 3 Blind Mice. Remember, we're in the key of G, which is this is the regular factory issued G chord. Okay. I recommended that you take your ring finger, put it on the 2nd string, and add your pinky. Get a little bit bouncier G chord, a little more harp-like. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a sight in your life as 3 blind mice? Okay, so I turned 3 blind mice at the end from half notes into whole notes, right? Added an extra measure. Create a little show business. The idea being that you got your G chord. Any way you want to strum it is perfectly fine as long as you are hitting 4 beats in a measure. So you can plumb it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All of those are open to you. The big key is when you grab a piece of sheet music, the first thing that you look at probably is, when you're new, you look and see if you know the chords. But once you get to be really settled into making music, the only thing that's going to matter to you is it 3 4 4 4 or 6 8. That's the 3 things that I will always think I'm likely to face. And then every now and then you look up there and it says 2 4, and you're like, oh brother, or 5 4. That's the other one that kills me. I see 5 4 on a lot of music, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do fives. So the meter is everything in music. It's the difference between poetry and music, right? Poetry, and music is poetry to a rhythm. Okay. So there's your G chords. Remember, so we talked about the standard issue, talked about the little bit fancier one, and then we talked also about this one, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. That's also a G chord. Very awkward at first, but it turns out it's very useful because now this finger is available to put here, and then you bring these two down, you get a C chord. You bring these two down two more, and you got a sort of a cool F chord. Take them back. And then back to your G chord. So now you know how to play in the key of C the easy way. And you'll see lots and lots of singers that play that way. They just know those basic chords, and everything is always, every song they play is the same exact chords. Which four strings are you plucking? So that's a great question. Each song and each chord has its better choice and worse choice. So let's say I'm grabbing my G chord and I'm going to play Three Blind Mice. I have lots of choices. My first choice is, if I want the guitar to be down low, stay underneath my voice, just be backing up, I will tend to grab these the four lowest strings. Three blind mice, three blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. On the other hand, a lot of times that feels too heavy, too bassy, like it just did, right? It just feels too low to me. So then my next thought is, what if I play it up high? So now I'm grabbing 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let's try that. Three blind mice, three blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. I'm much happier with those four strings than these four strings underneath my voice. I think they sound nice. Okay. Sometimes neither of those is the correct answer, and then I might try the middle strings, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Three blind mice, three blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. A lot of times I grab those middle ones because then as I'm switching chords, let's say I'm in a song with A, D, and E, all of those chords are going to sound fine just using the middle ones. Whereas if I'm using the lower ones and I get to a D, I can't hit this string now. And so I've got to be smarter at how I'm running my right hand. So the middle four strings is usually sort of the fail-safe, like I'm probably not going to hit any bad notes if I'm just grabbing those. But I do typically, I like these upper strings. I think that they sound nice almost all of the time. And you get that nice high guitar sound. It sounds beautiful, but it's not necessarily right all of the time. It's not necessarily right for every song. The third thing, fourth thing, whatever we're on, the next thing, or let's say call it the last thing, is if I found the link. Oh, did I not put the link on there correctly, Pauline? Oh, it is buried a tiny bit over there, isn't it? Sorry about that, Pauline. Yeah, I'm going to be putting it at the bottom of the playlist. I'm not changing the playlist every single day anymore. It seemed like I was doing double work for nothing. It's just the same every day, and then we'll put the link at the bottom of that. Sorry, Pauline, didn't mean to hide it from you. The last thing to think about when you are plucking multiple strings, if you're holding a G chord, that's your bass note, G, right? So having your thumb on that bass note makes a lot of sense. And then take these three fingers and put them on the high strings. Now you have the high string. You kind of got the best of both worlds. And that's not to say it's all going to sound better. It's just that you are now using, I've got this root noted with my thumb, and I've got these high strings coming in. So now I've got bass and high strings, and sometimes that works. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Three blind mice, three blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails, and so on. Now Now, for me, in this song, at this moment, that's not working well at all. My voice is not cooperating with that at all. Where I was doing better with just the bottom four, three blind mice. So I think you kind of mess around and try to find which four strings am I going to pluck? Well, I'm going to try just various choices until I find one that sounds the best for me. And sometimes you'll see, especially in these lessons where we're talking and experimenting and doing different things, I'll start with something and you'll just see without me even commenting, change your string position. That's not working because there's something's not working. And so I will try different strings until I find one. Sometimes things are working great. And I think, well, let me go check and see if these others are any better. And usually they're not, right? But you want to try, I think, be adventurous. There's no right answer to which four strings you should pluck. The only wrong answer is if you are playing a D, for example, a D chord, and you hit this top string, which is an E, it's not going to sound good. It just doesn't sound right with it. And so you avoid, and you'll see that on the chord charts, right? There'll be a little X over a string. Don't play that string. It's going to sound terrible. And that's one of the challenges with this instrument is you got more strings than you really need. Okay, you really need these first four. These first four are pretty darn important. These two strings, a lot of times when you look at a chord chart, those two strings will be X'd out because they don't want you because you don't need them. They're not necessary. And even when you're watching classical players, they're going lickety split on these lower four strings, and then their thumb is up here doing less work oftentimes on these strings. Not every song, and not certainly not more modern songs where they tend to write for up here, but on sort of the standard issue classical guitar stuff, there's a whole lot going on down here, and then these are used as chord support. Okay, let's play the tough axe. We can do this. You want to use this G chord because you're going to need this finger. Okay. Very slowly, take your time. This is the toughest song in book one, and it's the last song in book one. So here's your chance to see how it's feeling. Okay. If you are truly level one, you don't need to worry about tough axe at all. I play it so that you can see what it is, but I know you guys, okay, all five of you. I know who all five of you are. All of you probably can pull off a tough axe. Okay, peeky here. Let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's actually quite beautiful, right? Nice and contemplative, taking your time, playing it much slower than is recommended. It's recommended at 80. I think we played it about 60. And I think maybe even slower than that. And I just think you got this silly little song about a lady chasing a mice around with a knife. But you take that out, you take the lyrics off, and you just let the guitar do the job for you. Suddenly you have this really quite nice piece of music with just this G chord just resonating underneath the main melody, doing its job to support you while you're busy getting in your fingers onto the correct frets. It just ends up sounding really pleasant. And so again, another song where playing it fast, we tend to sing this song fast because it's crazy and we're just chasing the mice all around the house. But why? Slow it down and see what happens. It sounds nice. All right, so Three Blind Mice, by far the hardest one in the book. Here's level 1 graduation. Here's the questions I ask you. What's the phrase that pays? patiently wait, should have said, Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. That's the phrase that pays. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. If you know how to tune your new guitar, level 1, 25% of level 1 is complete. Second, do you know how to hold your guitar? You don't have to hold it the way I tell you to, but you're going to make your life harder if you don't. Okay? What I like to see is the guitar up against your body. I like to see this at 50, about a 50-degree angle. Okay? Here. This is surprisingly close to my face. When I look over, I'm like, whoa. Okay. And if I stand up, this is how the guitar strap will hold the guitar anyway. And when I sit down to practice, the guitar ends up between my legs, weird. And then I have a little footstool down here. You can use a pile of books or a box or whatever. You can use your guitar stand. But the little pedal, little foot pedal is worth the $20. And then if I have a larger guitar, it sits right on my leg here. This guitar is small enough and has the strap, so it actually just levitates magically around me, and I like that. I think it feels safe. And then so holding the guitar, I don't require students to do it, but boy, I really encourage it. And then the other one is making sure your thumb is not where I can see it, that your fingers wrap around like this, and that your thumb hangs out wherever your middle finger is. Your thumb is basically right behind that all of the time. There is no reason ever to reach your thumb up over the top of the guitar if you are playing correctly, unless you are on an electric guitar and you're not playing correctly. There's no notes that you need to reach over to do this to. A lot of guitar players, electric guitar players, will do that, but that's an entirely different discussion. Okay, if you're on an acoustic guitar, there is no time when you need to do that. All right. So tuning, posture. Next question I have for you is, if you sit down, there's 5 songs in this level, can you just play the melody for all 5? That would be the next thing. And usually on the last night in guitar class here locally, we'll just go through and play all 5 of those and let people know, hey, can you play Three Blind Mice? Can you play Farmer in the Dell? Can you play Frere Jacques 2 different ways? Can you play Row, Row, Row Your Boat? And if you can, that's a really good sign you're ready for level 2. That's super important. And then I always ask them to run through their 4 chords. A lot of times they got to pull up the chord chart, but you don't quite have it memorized, but here's an A chord, here's a D chord, here's an E chord, here's the G chord. If you're comfy with those 4 chords, for sure it's time to move on to level 2. Okay, and I don't expect level 1 players to play tough acts. I do it for them so they can see what they're getting themselves into. Okay, let's move on to level 2. We're playing I'm This Old Man. Okay, another 1-page song. I love 1-pagers. This song has 3 chords. I think usually there's just 2 on this level 2, but this, because all 3 of the chords are from level 1, I went ahead and tossed it into as a level 2 song. Got your A chord. This old man, he played 1. Go to your D chord. He played knick-knack. Back to over to your E chord. Remember, slide your D chord straight back and then add those 2. On his drum, it should be thumb, shouldn't it? On his thumb with back to A chord. Knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. Back to E chord. This old man came, and here's the fun part. It's hard, but it's fun. Rolling home. A. That's the real part. That's the main reason this song's in this book. The dumb song, but that's not dumb. That's important. Okay? Let's sing it a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4. This old man, he played 1. He played knick-knack on my thumb with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. This old man, he played 2. He played knick-knack on my shoe with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man came. This old man, he played 3. He played knick-knack on my knee with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man came, A-E-A. This old man, he played four. He played knick-knack on the door with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man came, rolling home. Okay, so there's that. So those are the chords. I would play that until they feel comfortable. Next thing is we play the melody. Okay, and this is not a brutal melody. There's some twos and some threes, and that's it. So there's nothing beyond the three, so we might as well just play it in first position. Middle fingers, ring fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. For my money, that's where the money is. That's where all the lead guitarists can do. They can all play conveniently and quickly without a lot of fanfare and controversy. Play melody. They can really knock that out. All the great jazz guitar players, they all know their chords like nobody's business, but they can also knock out a really fine, really well done melody, and they can usually do it in their heads. We're not going to do anything in our heads very much, but we are looking for our one song we're going to memorize. But for the most part, just being able to play melody really solidly, that puts you into a different group. You go to the folk music meetup, and they hand out the music. If you can play the melody line, you get put into the cool group, and everybody else gets into the chord group, right? And it's not that chords aren't cool, but being able to knock the song out from a melody perspective on the instrument. Now you know what song you're playing. If you're just playing chords, it could be any song, but when you're playing the melody, you know exactly what you're playing. And you want to get fast and good, and where it's just no big deal. Let's go into tough acts. This is a big deal. Okay, this is a very hard in the beginning. Okay, level 2. We're going to take an A chord and strum that. We're already holding down the 2s and the 0, so hit the 2-0. Do it again. Nice D chord here. That's 0, 2, 3, 2. That's going to hit that a million times, so get comfy with it. 0, 2, 3, 2. Lose the 2. Already holding down the 3. Got a choice of sliding your ring finger back to get the 2, or just adding on your middle finger to get the 2. Okay, either one of those, and now go grab your E chord. Make sure you're resting on the first string. You don't want that to go off. Pinky on 2, pinky on 3, 2 and 3 again. Go to your A chord. Got a bunch of 2s. Get the rhythm right. Little A chord. No ring finger here. Now the ring finger. Slide it forward and then slide it back. Okay, grab your E chord. All 6 strings. 2 zeros. Pinky on 3, pinky on 2. open. Whoops, I blew it. The B on 3, back to your A chord, to A E chord with 4 strings, and back to A chord. Hit the 2. And my eyeball went up to the melody line. I'm like, no, that seems not a little too easy. Okay. And again, with tough acts, you don't have to do any of that, right? You did play just beautifully, just playing the melody. But when we get to tough acts, we start adding in chords because it sounds a little more full, sounds a little bit fancier, makes you look like a better guitar player. You don't have to do any of it. It's the idea of, hey, I'm going to be adding in some extra stuff to make me look like I know what I'm doing. Okay. From the top, we'll do it a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I actually kind of like that tune. Vic's, I'm in the habit of playing go so slowly I can hear all the notes in the chord. Hard habit to break. No, not a habit you want to break. Not a habit you want to break, Vic. When you're going slow, we have a tendency to play. What she's saying is, I'm playing like this. Try not to break that habit. That's gorgeous. That's what we want to do. As you speed up, it's going to be harder and harder to do that, but we still want to capture that sense of completeness, like every note matters. You know, we can play it. I have lots of, especially my teenage students. Fine. It's a way to play. It is a way to play. It's not the best way to play, in my opinion. The best way to play is to, if you're going to hit a string, make it matter. Make it matter, right? I am not ever going to feel bad about playing a little bit slower, really getting all of the, letting my listener be like, man, I can hear every darn string in that chord. That's because I'm playing a tiny bit too slow. Whatever, right? If you're on a piano and you're playing a C chord, all 3 of those hit at the same time, plonk, okay? You don't really care about, honestly, you don't really care about any of them. You just plonk and they all sound, and that's that. But on guitar, you get to massage every one of those possibly in a little bit different way. The first chord open, right, or first note open. The next 3 are held down. last one's open. So all of these two are going to sound a little different than these three, just by the nature they're being pinched. And so I personally think it's perfectly fine to hear everyone every single time when I'm playing, because I do a lot of thumb. I really want to hear all those. I think it's beautiful. In classical guitar, they will teach that strum, which comes up a lot. How fast can you get this? So you're trying to get a rolled chord using multiple fingers, whereas I will tend to substitute a thumb going down, which sounds different, of course. But that type of situation is also a legitimate way to play. So I think your first thought, Vic, is I'm playing so slow I can hear everything. I don't know if I like that. Does it start to be where it doesn't even sound like a chord? Yeah, you might be playing overly slow. But the business of wanting to hear every one of those notes, it's perfectly fine and a legitimate way to play. When I watch some of the really big names in classical guitar, they play slow. They make sure every note matters. They make sure that as they're playing along, that if they're going to be strumming a chord, it rarely sounds like that, right? They're usually, really getting it in and not always, but the idea that if you're going to play a chord, have it mean something. So yeah, it's an interesting thought, Beck. I've never really given that a whole lot of thought, but definitely don't feel bad about hearing every note. That's actually a good thing. All right. Waltzing Matilda. We're going to play it quickly because we don't need to play everything in this. It's not that great of a chord melody tune. And honestly, the melody is more fun to sing. What's really hard here is getting B minor on. Okay? B minor. So let's take a moment, rethink it. You got your A minor with middle ring and pinky. Slide it forward, add the bar. You got your B minor. So let's just sing this guy. It goes on for a ways. Let me put my page turner thing down here. Get it going. Turned off. Let me see if I can get it going again. Okay, I'm back in business. What we want to do is get comfy with B minor. That's the hard part of this song. It's not, the song itself is okay. Pretty fun song to goof with. It's one of my big ukulele songs, and it's way easier on that than it is on this. But we're going to be doing Once Upon a Jagman camped beside a billabong under the shade. So about that speed, right? We're not going to go fast, but we'll do it a bunch, and let's see if B minor is starting to be your friend. And you're gonna, when you see, so when you're playing whatever chord, don't fall asleep on that. Look forward to see what the next chord is. You're like, all right, I'm on D chord. Next one's an A. Next one's a B minor. Next one's a G. You're always looking at least one chord ahead, hopefully two chords ahead, to see what tragedies are about to befall you so that you can be pulling your eyes off the paper and getting it over onto here. I talk a lot of times about when I am playing out and I am wanting to present the best view of myself, I will usually have my sheet music right underneath wherever my neck of the guitar is, so that as I'm looking at this guitar, I can look here and basically simultaneously see the sheet music that I have. So when I'm playing with you guys, I'm staring at this machine, and I've only found that I'm put the sheet music right here in front of me, so it's not in a distraction. But normally I'm going to have the sheet music more over here underneath my neck of the guitar. And then I can, if I were to play it like that here, I would be basically looking down at the sheet music. And when I need to glance up, oh, here's that darn B minor. And then I have not created a situation for myself where I'm having to look over here for one thing and over there for another. I can kind of see it simultaneously. Little helpful hint there. Okay? And you can practice that way at home too, by the way. You should be practicing as if you're headed down to whatever the big stadium is near your house to play a concert. Okay? Once jolly. I'm gonna at least the first time through give a 2-beat pluck for each chord. Okay, and I'll sing. I know I can't sing. You know I can't. It's not about my singing. It's about your B minor. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. Once a jolly swag man camped beside a billabong under the shade of a coolibah tree, and he sang as he sat, and he waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he watched, and he waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. To the top. Down came a jumbuck to drink beside a billabong. Jumped the swag man and grabbed him with glee, and he sang as he stowed that jumbuck in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he went, and he waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Up came the squatter, mounted on his thoroughbred. Down came the troopers, 1, 2, 3, saying, "Where's that jolly jumbuck you've got inside your tucker bag? You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang and he sung and he waited, la da 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 da. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. I don't know how it goes. Here it goes from the top. Up jumped the swag man, he sprang into the billabong. You'll never catch me alive, and his ghost may be heard as you pass along the billabong. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And his ghost may be heard as you pass along that billabong. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. How did we do? So, singing aside, that's why we find singers, is because they can sing and we play guitar. And it works out great. They can focus in on what they do best, and we can focus in on getting our B minors in place. I think because I spend so much time dealing with fingerstyle and trying to get you guys up to that level, we don't spend near enough time working your chords and making sure that they're sort of coming along smoothly and pleasantly. So don't neglect that in your own personal study. Not real good, too fast on chord changes. Yeah, they were pretty fast, right? And I wanted to push it a tiny bit so you can figure out, all right, my D's are going great, my A's are going great, my B minors are a mess, my G is iffy. Those are your chords, right? And so if you were consistently missing one, then you start to think about, okay, how can I get this on faster? What are my thoughts on that? Well, I want to make sure I get my bar on first because it's going to be on whatever bar, wherever fret. And next thing, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. That is surprisingly complicated, even though you've done this a million times and this a million times, the same shape, right? But now we're using different fingers, and so they fight it a little bit. And that's why using these bar chords up the neck is pretty helpful in the sense that, hey, I'm going to make this E chord, but I'm going to use these fingers, and I'm going to do it on the 5th fret, right? And so until you do it a lot, until you get where they're just sort of dropping on just like any other chord. If I tell you make a D, probably on there pretty quick. If I tell you to make an E, usually not a major. If I tell you to make an A on the 5th fret, maybe it needs a little bit more work. And I think B minor is one of those when we start off with. It's kind of a bummer. All right, do we have time? Let's go grab YMCA and wrap up our day with one time through that bad boy. Yeah, and so you have to stop. You can't stop with ever when you're practicing. You can never stop on Waltzing Matilda because you'll be singing it the rest of the day. Okay, twice through, best shot. Okay, remember tomorrow night in our evening session, we dig into this. We go through it in ridiculous, painful detail, and hopefully we did that last week, and we'll do it this week again for sure. And then we'll see. We'll take a survey of how many people would like to keep going forward with this one. Got a request to do Moon River, and I can't remember which of the other ones is our next songs. We'll probably do that. Okay. It might have been Evelyn, maybe, that I requested the Moon River, and I can't remember one other song, and so I've got them on my probable next ups. Okay, YMCA. Play it whatever way makes sense for you. Okay, might be melody, might be chords. Hopefully, it's tough hangs. Play it like a ballad, not like a disco song. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. That's YMCA. That's the best I've ever played it. Still ways to go. I notice level 1, level 2, level 3, doing fine. Get to level 4 when the pinky becomes such an important part of my toolbox. Well, my number one weapon, apparently, in level 4. And because, the arthritis is continuing to be a pain, very often it's just like not there. You're like, come on, pinky, clunk. So definitely not helpful as a guitarist, but part of the many, many, many things that we get to work on as ever-growing musicians. So, well, nice, right? Evelyn, hopefully you're killing it. And it is a nice tune. It really, if you slow it down and forget the fact that there's an Indian and a cowboy and a policeman and whatever else is in that group, you forget all that. If you pretended that you found it in a box at an antique store and you blew the dust off of it, and you're like, YMCA, that must stand for your mom's cottage association. You would play it slower, and you would play it with a little bit more level of sensitivity than bum bum ba da ba da da bum. And so obviously we all want to play it at that fast speed, but until then, play it at a slow speed. Turn it into a ballad. It sounds fun. Vic, thanks, Gary. I did get to liking this. Vic initially had mixed opinions about whether she wanted to participate in YMCA. I think there's very few songs I'm going to put out that that are like, yeah, right. Cheeseburger in Paradise might be one of those songs, but for the most part, I'm going to really try with guitar. Guitar's too hard to not have really awesome music in front of you all of the time, and so I'm going to really, really try to stick with things that I think would be lovely to own. And I got another, I don't know, 90 or 100 songs on the up coming up someday deck, and it's just a matter of finding time to write them out, because there's so much beautiful music out there, and you don't necessarily ever have to play fast. That's the nice part about it. So yeah. Nancy, loving every minute. Yay, that makes me happy, Nancy. Really does. Pauline, mine needs work. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, mine needs work too, Nancy, or Pauline. Mine needs a lot of work. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here every day. I'm thrilled you're joining me. I'm hoping you're getting something out of it. I know I personally am getting a lot out of this. I'm learning that my pinky doesn't work. That's the main thing I'm working on. I'm going to call a doctor. All right. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're at. And I will see all of you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good night.